What's up, everyone? How you doing? It's John, aka Gamester81. This is my experience going to the RetroGameCon in Syracuse, New York, October 11th through 13th, 2024. This is my second time going to this event. The first time was back in 2018, pre-COVID, and I was a special guest. Had an amazing time. This show has grown over the years. I love going to these shows not just to shop for games, but to hang out with people, meet special guests, play games, obviously. And there were a ton of great vendors. Here's one of my favorites. They had a ton of old school, like N64 variety consoles right there. And they had it set up like it almost felt like you're in a game store, which is very cool. And look at all those Game Boys and different Game Boy colors in box as well. Super cool. And a ton of box NES games, Super Nintendo games, obviously a ton of just loose NES games as well. Even a handful of box Game Boy games, which is kind of hard to find those, to be honest, because a lot of people get rid of those. Not only that, but this vendor had a ton of TurboGrafx 16 games and 3DO. I even saw some Jaguar games there, CDI even, which is awesome to see. And here's another vendor with some great box games. All these vendors were very cool. Prices were reasonable from what I saw. I didn't see anything crazy expensive. And not only did they have retro games, they had some modern games too, of course. Some Switch. Switch is super popular. I love the Switch. And even some loose N64 games. There's GoldenEye. It's about a GoldenEye there. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Playing back in the day, multiplayer. Here's another vendor, some really cool stuff. Retro Rehome. They had, I love that Sega CD box there on the top. Jaguar. I was surprised how many Jaguars I found. Just in systems, games in general. I feel like the Jaguar is making a comeback. It wasn't a super popular console back in the day. Very expensive and kind of short-lived. But surprisingly, there was a ton of Jaguar games. And of course, most prominent games I saw were, of course, NES games. This vendor is cool. A lot of cool marquees from classic arcades. Berserk, of course, classic. Circus Corral, love that game. And there's a Virtual Boy spot there. This is 3D printed stuff. Very, very cool. Love seeing this. They did like the enlarged games. I saw Game Boy games. I've seen this vendor before. Very cool stuff, and they have signs you can purchase as well of the Batman, Switch, Transformers, N64, etc. And Nintendo Power here. This vendor had a bunch of classic Nintendo Power magazines. I was subscribed to Nintendo Power for years. I'm sad to see that Nintendo Power is no longer around. In fact, there's no more Game Pros no longer making, there's no more magazines, which is unfortunately gaming magazines that are printed out there. It's just unfortunate. But not only did they have games here, they had some anime stuff as well, anime vendors. Nice mix, to be honest. So if you're interested in both, definitely check it out. This one had some printed posters that were awesome. And this did some artwork as well. Very cool. Here's a vendor with pops and just different variety of stuff. They even had some action figures. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I collect Star Wars figures. So it's cool to go to a place like this, an event like this, not only just see games, but other things I'm interested in. Even tattoo artists. Now, I don't have a tattoo personally, but if I were to get one, it'd be gaming related for sure. I'd have to think which one I'd want. But a really nice variety. And look, I know how much work goes into running these events. I've been to a number of these throughout the year. And Pat and his team who run RetroGameCon do an incredible job. I run an event in Phoenix called Game On Expo, so I know firsthand the work, the blood, sweat, tears that goes into running an event like this. And this one was extremely organized. Of the events I've been to this year, I've been to a handful. I'd say Southeast Game Exchange is an incredible event, and this one as well really impressed me. If you're in the East Coast of the country, those are the two events I'd recommend. I've never been to too many games. I've heard really great things about that as well, but those two definitely on the East Coast are awesome. Here's some more games, of course, different anime stuff here, the vendor, which is good to see. And this place was packed. Now, this was a 3-day event. First time they did 3. Oh, look, there's John Riggs. Shout out to John's great channel. As I was saying, this is a 3-day event. First time they've done 3-day events. Previously, it's been 2. And I wasn't able to attend Friday due to my travel, but I was there both Saturday and Sunday. And honestly, both days. Saturday was sold out, which is incredible. And Sunday felt almost even busier than Saturday. So this show is growing. I believe this show's been around since 2013. So for quite some time, going on 11 plus 12 years almost. Yeah, really great to see. Here's some Switch games with this particular vendor. And vendors are smart. They have a lot of their games in cases because unfortunately at these events, sometimes people like to steal stuff and walk away with stuff, and that's just unfortunate. Ruins it for everyone, but a lot of their higher price games are in cases, which I definitely don't blame them. Here's some really cool plushes I appreciate. Squishables, very fun. Some more figures, and look at all these box games, Genesis, etc. There's another Jaguar, and even a ColecoVision up there in the corner I spotted, which is one of my favorite retro games of all time. Here is Square Painter Adam. Shout out to him. I did purchase a DuckTales Scrooge McDuck artwork from him, and there's Justin from RetroWare. RetroWare started publishing games, which is great. I believe this game's called Iron Meat. It was played very much like Contra, and really fun. They had a table there, and a lot of the games are impressive. They're doing physically as well. They partner with physically. Pat, the NES punk, was there selling his books. I did buy his new N64 book. They're really high quality, really heavy books, but a lot of information on every game in the library. I think he did an NES one. I know he did an NES one earlier, Super Nintendo, and now N64. So we'll be curious if he starts expanding maybe to other, maybe GameCube or Game Boy. There's a lot of Game Boy games, of course. But here's some more. There's NES, Xbox 360. It's crazy. I think Xbox 360 is considered, quote, retro now. Here's some amiibos and some classic figures as well. Look at the classic real Ghostbusters figures. I love that. I love that show growing up. And yeah, can't say enough things about that show. Game Boy Color. Here's TurboGrafx 16 with a couple games. A lot of cosplay. I was really impressed with the cosplay at RetroGameCon. Great. And shout out to Jam Jam Jelly, my friend Russ, who developed this game. That right there, that dragon there, is I did the voiceover, which is awesome for it. Very cool. And he helped build City Hunter and the Chris the Mayan. Great guy, Russ. Shout out Jam Jam Jelly. Check it out. It's a great shooter. Here's the museum part. I was really blown away on how many classic computers they had. I shouldn't say museum, but I consider museum because a lot of classic computers are packed. I've never been to an event with so many classic PCs. There's the Apple II to the Amiga to the Commodore 64, playing Oregon Trail, and there's the VIC 20, and the monitors. Man, the setup here, I'm not sure where Pat and his team store these. There's the original Mac that came out. That just brings me back to my childhood, and very cool to see them functioning, people playing them, a lot of younger people playing these games, and it's incredible. The people are playing Doom, and there's some tournaments, playing game tournaments as well. Here's another look at some of the monitors. There's some other consoles and platforms that they had. And this section was packed. They had a rock band karaoke. This guy was amazing. He was just killing it. Had a great chops, great vocal, and crowd was really into it. And I love rock band. It was really cool to have him on a big stage. The signing area was packed. This was actually filmed on, this part was filmed on Sunday, and it was packed. They had a bunch of people from Baldur's Gate 3, and just well organized, that section for sure. Here's a fun area part as well. They brought a bunch of candy cabs and classic arcade games, really mostly Japanese. They had some pinball games as well. I didn't show you in this here, but they had some great pinball machines as well on the main floor. And they had tournaments. This is a Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament that they were running on the stage. And downstairs they had some tabletop gaming, all that good stuff as well. They had panels. So there's definitely between panels and tournaments, tabletop, etc. So much to do. And last thing I want to show you is they had live music all throughout the weekend as well. Thanks for checking out, guys. I appreciate you subscribing. Leave a comment below. We'll see you guys soon. Take care. And of course, game on.